It's a final word daily. It's a preview. Second test match here at Galle. We're on top of the fort. I'm Adam Collins. He's Geoff Lemon. There's no summary to give, but I'll tell you what, we can give a 30-second summary of Patrick Cummins' press conference this morning, where he's confirmed the same 12, but with a twist, a reconfigured 12. If Glenn Maxwell plays tomorrow, it'll be in place of Mitchell Starc, and he'll bat at number 8. I didn't expect that when I woke up this morning. It's no sure thing. They'll take a look at the pitch tomorrow morning to decide the shape of the final 11, but it feels like the emergency klaxon should be shining. Maxi could play Test cricket tomorrow.
It could happen. It could happen. And I know people will say, this is a bit desperate, guys. You're clutching, you're reaching, you're hoping for something that hasn't even been confirmed. It's just been speculated about. This may be the closest we ever get. We may never get this close again. This is our opportunity for the next, say, 18 hours. We can dream. It could happen. It is Schrodinger's Maxi. He could play an 8th Test match. He might not, but he might. And we can dream that. We can believe that for the next little while. Because Pat Cummins doesn't usually bring things up unless they're likely to happen. He wouldn't just throw it out there as speculation. You know, he said same 12. The press at the press conference said, okay, but what does that mean? And he said, well, we might want an actual other spinner. Sure, Travis Head bowled well, but we might. And basically that we don't need 3 quicks. We've got Cameron Green. We didn't use him in the first test at all. We didn't really need the extra fast bowling from Mitchell Starc. I mean, it'd be a big call given, 11 for 90 that Starc took on this ground a few years ago, and the ball did reverse in the first test, but it could happen.
It only reversed briefly, though. That change of ball the Sri Lankans had early on day 3, I mean, it feels like a million years ago, but when that played out, we thought reverse might be a factor as the day wore on. In the end, it was all over by lunch. But yes, I was at that press conference and was part of the interrogation of Pat Cummins, if you like. And it was really interesting that he acknowledges that Glenn Maxwell's a much better bowler. So Maxi said a number of times in public commentary over the last 2 or 3 years, maybe the last 18 months actually, that he's worked exceptionally hard on making his bowling good enough that he could be picked, not using it as his speciality, but could be genuinely picked as a bowler. Whereas in previous iterations of Maxwell, the test player, the bowling's been handy, but he's been picked as a 5 or a 6. Now, the last time Glenn Maxwell batted number 8 in a first-class game was when he made 127 from 104 balls against New South Wales in an extraordinary solo performance back in 2014. So he has got form in that position, although I doubt he's ever batted as low as 8 in any other game, maybe in his whole life, apart from that Shield game. So it'd be unusual, but we've seen teams look to lengthen their batting lineup with a second spinner as recently as a couple of weeks ago in Leeds with Michael Bracewell. So I can see it working. Truth be told, I think they will be a better balanced team with Maxwell at 8 because they didn't use Green last week. The second seamer, in all probability, will only be used for, say,
3 overs,
4 to 8 overs for the test match, something like that. Whereas Maxwell, you're giving, if you're just looking on pure batting alone, you're extending your batting lineup, you're having another option to bowl spin. Pat said he would trust Maxwell to bowl 15 or 20 overs per innings if called upon, in addition to line sweeps and the 2 front liners. So it does feel like it makes sense for this particular test match.
The 2 spinners thing worked in the first test because Sri Lanka folded quickly, but if they don't, all it takes is one big partnership, say Angelo Matthews and Dinesh Chandimal, something like that, and a couple of the experienced heads, and you'll need another spinner. You'll need somebody to be able to rest your 2 frontliners once they've bowled long spells and the hands are starting to get sore and all the rest of it. So.
And one last point on this, Pat made a point of saying their best bowler in the one days was Maxwell. He took 5 wickets and kept the run rate down, often bowled inside the power play. So they're backing him more than they once did. Go back 5 or 6 years ago in the one day team, he was seldom bowling. It was Travis Head getting the opportunity as the part-time spinner to bowl the allocation for the 5th bowler, if you like. It's interesting how that's turned around, even after Head did everything right with the ball in his brief spell last Friday, taking 4 for 10.
Yeah, but by that point of the game, Sri Lanka were basically cooked. They'd pretty much given up, and it was there are wickets and there are wickets. So, and I think the other aspect of it is being able to have another counter-attacking player to come in, because we saw in that first match when the pitch is really difficult and the ball's spinning a lot, sometimes counter-attack is the way to go. Sometimes being aggressive is what can get you out of trouble, what can disrupt spinners and from hitting the right lengths and all of the rest of it. And so that would give them more license. It would give Travis Head more license, Alex Carey more license to attack, because they'd know that there was another option to come in and do the same.
Yeah, and I suppose, I completely agree. Bigger picture, zooming out a bit, and Cummins wasn't sort of disputing this point. There is an India story here. They're playing 4 test matches there next year. They'll be far stronger than Sri Lanka are this week. They've been depleted yet further with 3 more COVID cases this morning. We'll come to that in a sec. But bigger picture, in all probability, they're going to take Maxwell to India next year. Is it better to get a test match in him now to get him sort of reoriented, reintegrated? I think it's 1,700 days since he last played a test, something like that, to give him that opportunity to not blood him, but there is something there, isn't there? So there won't be so much riding on him if they have to play him in the first test in India for similar counter-attacking reasons next February.
And which Australian players have made hundreds in India in the last 10, almost 15 years? Michael Clarke, Steve Smith, Glenn Maxwell. That's it. Just them. Just those ones.
I mentioned Sri Lanka before, so the rest of the Australian team will be as it was last week. We woke up this morning to 3 further cases. They lost
Dhananjaya de Silva, Asita Fernando, and Van der Sar. And they already
lost Wickrama.
Jai Vikrama's out of the squad.
With COVID as well. They've already replaced
Lasith Ambaldenia, who's out of the squad with being bad at bowling.
For having given away a lot of runs last week. So there'll be wholesale changes. Angelo Matthews back straight into the 11 after being COVID subbed out of the team last week for Oshada Fernando. Presumably Oshada will retain his spot in the team, even though he was the sub.
Because Dhananjaya is out.
So
Oshada will come into the top order, and then they'll need another quick, so probably Kasan Rajita, but maybe Chamika Karunaratne could come in, double their Karunaratne quotient.
And he bowled well against Australia back in Canberra in 2019, making his test debut.
Yep, so that'll be their one quick, and then they've got paddles. They've got Lakshan Sandakan coming in, PADLR, those are his initials, the paddler. I like to think of him, he's like...
The Sandy man.
He's like a combination between the Riddler and Richard Hadley, I suppose, the paddler. He might come in, the left arm wrist spinner. He bowled really well against Australia in 2016. More likely, Valalage and Tikshana are the two who bowled really well in the one dayers against Australia. So,
and those who were watching the one days more closely than Geoff and I were with our various commitments at the time, I think Valalage was the one who gave the Australians the most to think about in the one day international. So,
and he's the left arm ortho, so he'll definitely play because Ambaldenia is out. They'll want a left arm finger spinner, and then it's a matter of whether they go the left arm wrist spinner or whether they go Tikshana, the mystery bowler. Yeah, love a mystery spinner in this part of the world.
All right, that's probably enough from us, of course. If you want to jump on advancedteststudio.com/final word, you can unlock your 15% discount. All of our daily shows over the next few months until the end of the English summer are brought to you by the good people at Advanced Hair Studio.
And up on the fort,
Advanced Hair Restoration. I'll tell you what, there's a fair bit going on here. You've got your sunglasses in your hair, a la Andrew Wu, to keep the hair off your eyes.
It's very windy up here on the fort.
I can't keep my hair down, which is unusual.
But that means the sound from up here carries. It's quite a good view. I mean, you wouldn't be able to say, watch it out of the hand and pick that it was a top spinner or whatever from here, but you could tell if someone's hitting a 6 over cow corner. And you can also, your voice can carry on the wind. You're hearing it more and more. Maxi, 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 Maxi.
It's time. One more thing I'll say about Maxi is that there is a short boundary. They're playing all the way over, you can probably see it over my shoulder actually, the surface that looks like the pitch they're playing on tomorrow. That's only 2 over from the edge of the square, a block of 9 pitches. So on the western side of the ground, it'll be quite short. That might also be incentive, given that we've seen what Maxi can do when he's got a short boundary.
On pitch number 9. I'm excited. I'm full of excitement.
There is a weekly show in the feed that's dropped just before this one. That's got an interview that Geoff did with Alex Carey the other day, and we talk about baseball and all the rest of it.
I don't think we actually used the phrase. I think we avoided using the term.
We might have avoided using it.
We tried.
But we discussed the phenomenon that is English Test cricket right now. We'll have daily shows every day coming at you from down on the field of play from tomorrow. And again, our thanks to Advanced Hair Studio, the world leaders in hair restoration. advancedhairstudio.com/final word. If you like what we do, patreon.com/the final word. We'll do it all again tomorrow.
Maxi, 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 Maxi.